What's going on, everyone? This is Sportin Cannabis and CBD, and I'm your host, William Smith.
Very special privilege of interviewing former NBA player Larry Sanders. So, Larry, thank you for joining us.
So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, a lot of great stuff to get into today. So, would you just be able to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
From Fort Pierce, Florida, born and raised. Played at Virginia Commonwealth for 3 years with Eric Maynard, Anthony Grant, Shaka Smart. That team that went, in the NCAA tournament. Those are my guys. Sweet 16, Final Four, Elite 8. I got drafted 15 to the Bucks in 2010. It was a 15th overall pick, and played for them. I think we did 5 years together, and then retired for purposes of we'll get into. I'm sure you got questions about that. And now I'm an entrepreneur, man. Now I work with different companies to help try to grow the business, put my creativity to works, and my networking and my ability to kind of connect the dots for different people. So I'm exploring that side right now, as well as, passive income, ways to make money, make your money, make money. So, I'm more into the business world now than ever before. So that's dope. But that's just that's pretty much a little timeline of me.
For sure. That's very cool to hear some of the ventures that you've gotten into after basketball. So kind of going off that, how would you say you got introduced to the game of basketball, and who would you say was your biggest influence?
Yeah, so I started playing ball late. I started playing ball when I was about 15 years old. So I started taking it seriously. And before that, I would always hang out at basketball courts with my friends and whatnot. But I was always that guy that was tall, that was like first pick. But I'm not playing. I'm not getting picked after that. Especially if my team loses, they're like, okay, not to pick that guy. I grew like in love with the game. When I tried out, I met my best friend at the time, who became my manager. Ultimately became my manager in the NBA. But the camaraderie of it, being on a team, locking in with guys and fighting for a goal. And I was like going to war, and I found myself getting better at the game. I found myself, as I fell in love with it, like really getting better, like at a high rate, like within years, like 1 year I'm averaging, 4 points and 7 blocks on JV. The next year I'm averaging 6 points and I'm averaging 10 points and 7 rebounds on varsity. And next year I'm averaging 22 points and 15 rebounds and almost 10 blocks in my last year there. And then my first year in Virginia Commonwealth, I think I was averaging maybe 3 points, 4 rebounds, and like 1 to 2 blocks. Then my second year I'm averaging 10 and 7, and then my third year I'm averaging almost 16 and 11, 17 and 11. And it's funny because I believe in numbers, and 3 is my favorite number. And it seemed like that third year for me was always when I caught fire. So now going to the NBA, the first year I think I averaged like 2, 3 points, 3 rebounds. The second year I averaging like maybe 7 and 6. And then my third year I'm averaging double-double, and I'm leading the league in blocks. You know what I mean? So that third year for me, at every level, I felt like I kind of just caught wind, and the game kind of became easy to me. So that's kind of how it worked out for me, and I've always had trust in the game and in my ability. So I surprise myself all the time. When I came back to the NBA and played for the Cavs for that short stint, I hadn't touched the basketball in almost 3 years. Like 2 years, didn't even pick it up to shoot it, didn't dribble a ball. And then when I said, I want to get back into the game, it took me about 5 months, and I was already ready to play. I surprised the hell out of myself that I got to that level so quickly after not touching the ball. But it's kind of just what I'm born to do. No one dies doing it, so you can't say it's born to do it forever. But it's definitely what I was born to do in a sense, because it's like a natural, I have a natural back for it.
Absolutely. To hear those progressions that you went through over the course of your career and, just gradually getting better and better, it's always very fulfilling to see. So kind of going off that, you touched on it a little bit with, being drafted 15th overall by the Bucks. Could you kind of tell us a little bit about that transition and some of the pressures that you faced early on in your career in the NBA?
Yeah, well, it was crazy because my first year was 2010, and if you remember, 2011 was a lockout. So it was like first year in, we know we're having a lockout next year. We don't know how long it's going to be. You got to stack your bread, can't overspend. So there was a lot of stress on that. Like, it was like huge money management right away. You couldn't really, you had to save a lot, and I ended up saving just enough to cover all my bills for the lockout. But I was tapped out. I was at zero when we started back. You know what I'm saying? So I had to start all over, and that was the case for a lot of guys. Some guys that were legends, some guys that were champions. They were living paycheck to paycheck at the time, and they couldn't afford the lockout to last any longer. So just dealing with that, money and different people around you, you kind of become an ATM to people. They think that like you're just a cash machine, and especially if you say yes. It's like that's the most dangerous thing you can do is almost say yes. Kind of got to lead with no, because you become people's first resort. And that's the problem. Like, I want to be a resort. I want to be a resource for the people that I love and my friends, but I don't always want to be the first one. You should be the first one. You should go out and try to get it. And then I can be the last one, when you're down on your bottom leg, and, I'll be there for you to make sure that you don't fall. But to always be a first resort, it's just not right. So I think that's something that, you have to deal with, traveling for the first time. And, you play 20 games a year in college. You play 20 games in a month, less than a month in in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? You're knocking out games every week. So to travel, you get into places at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Room service is closed at the hotel. You're hungry as hell. You couldn't eat because you just left the game. So if you weren't hungry right after the game and you missed that meal and didn't take any food with you, now you're on the plane. Maybe they don't have food. My first year in Milwaukee was tough. Like if you rate teams 1 to 31 as far as financially, being on the market of being on TV at the time, 2010. Not now, Giannis, but post me, Giannis and Brandon Jennings, it's no TV time, no money for real. We didn't have chefs. I kind of like when I got there, guys would come in from different teams, and they would be like, "Yo, this ain't the NBA. Yo. Like you ain't in the NBA yet. Like this ain't the league. They give you one sweatsuit. You don't get unlimited shirts. It's like it was kind of less than college. And I went to a mid-major. So it was a lot to deal with. And then Scott Skiles. You know what I'm saying? Scott Skiles, man, on his way out. Like the coked up version. And I'm sorry to say it like that, but I mean the man was just he was on a lot of stuff, man. I think he one of them old school, hard-nosed, tough coaches, but he was not personable at all, so his whole wave was extinct. Guys like Steve Kerr and guys like, these guys who are going to talk to you and actually get to know the players, they're going to make us feel like a team. Those are guys that win the championships. All this, we're coaches and you're players and X and O's and this and that. Like that only gets you to about a little bit over 500 every year. You feel me? And probably less than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, I think that the NBA tapped into a different recipe and started moving with the ages and listened to the players and had guys like LeBron and Kobe and guys who were forward with their opinions and how things should go, as like a coach. And be respected in that way, it helps, like people hated Milwaukee. Like guys hated coming there, like they dreaded it, and a lot of it was because, it was what it was. It was old school, but you needed some love, man. You needed somebody in there that was going to like make you smile on gloomy days and remind us where we are and why we're there. And, bring us together. You know, I think they know like that's a recipe for winning, man. And I've always been around that. You know, like I had Anthony Grant, I had Shaka Smart. My high school coach was all about that. You know what I'm saying? So I was kind of spoiled with like really good point guards my whole life and really good coaches. So when I got to the Bucks, it was kind of like, damn, not to say BJ ain't a great point guard, but he's a two guard. You know, he's a scorer. So then we had Monte Ellis, who's another scorer. You know, I didn't have a good point guard for a while, or a solid one. So, you know, Bano was sweet. Bano Udrich, yeah, he was sweet. Certain guys that were locked into that position made it a little easier to be a big.
For sure. It's definitely interesting to hear about a lot of those adjustments that, you know, you were facing early on. So going off that, in 2015, you made a tough decision to walk away from the game. What was the thought process in that decision, and how did you come to that decision?
Well, I dealt with a lot of back and forth with the NBA because I found cannabis when I was 22. So I found cannabis when I was a year in and in the lockout, dealing with the stresses of, you know, all the things I just mentioned, right? And it was definitely helpful. You know, it was like medicine to me, you know, that I had never discovered in my life, you know, dealing with anxiety and certain things. It had just peaked to a high level. So now I'm using cannabis. It's helping, but now I'm fighting with the league about, you know, my health. And they're giving me other stuff and demanding therapy. And that weighed on me a lot because it took a lot of my time, took a lot of my free time. You know, I was fighting for my position more than I was living and enjoying myself. And I just had a son, I had a daughter, and could imagine you play 82 games and then you have your summer, right, which is like a few months. And I did I did USA basketball. You know, I did a lot of different stuff. I had my camp back home that I spent weeks at. I did volunteer work. And I needed to spend time with my children. You know, but then you say I have to go to rehab for marijuana use for 60 days or 90 days. You know what I mean? And they were pulling this stuff out at the end of the year and saying like, hey, okay, well, if you don't go, we're gonna suspend you for 5 games. You know, next year, the first 5 games of the season, you're suspended if you don't go to rehab for it. You know what I mean? Just all these ultimatums about my choice of life, you know, and something I knew eventually is gonna be allowed. You know what I mean? Like, I know it. So how can, you know, it was just rough dealing with that. So I came to the ultimate choice that I needed to explore why. Why did I need marijuana? Why was it helping so much? What was it helping for? You know, I think that was important. You know, so I put myself into a rehab that I chose that was for, you know, like personality disorders and bipolar and anxiety and depression, you know, mood disorders and whatnot. Not so much the drug-based programs. You know what I'm saying? And this was always my struggle with them also. You know, I wanted to choose where I wanted to go. I wanted to have some kind of say in that. But it was always a kind of a punishment. You know, it was always felt like a punishment. So, you know, it's hard to live like that, man. I got children that need me. You know, I'm fighting for my quality of life, you know, and you're threatening my reputation. You know, so, I mean, I would ask anyone, what would you do? You know what I mean? Like, and, you know, I got to a place where I love my brain. I love the thought of being an entrepreneur. And the thought of having a second life always excited me. You know, even when I stepped foot through the door to the NBA, I thought about, damn, okay, this is great. But, you know, making this into something else is going to be the real goal here. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I wasn't afraid of that. And I knew, okay, I'm giving up $27 million, but I'm going to put myself in a position to make more money throughout the rest of my life, you know, for the next 70 years, not just the next 4. So, you know, it's just all about, you know, whatever your mindset was. But it was scary. It was scary as hell, you know, to be lying to say it wasn't, because you have so many people attached to you, you know, so many people depending on you, you know, and their dreams are in your hands, you know, and when you ultimately say, you know, this isn't my direction anymore, you kind of forfeit their dreams too. So that's a lot you got to deal with. So yeah, man, you know, you end up losing people and situations get tough, but ultimately, you know I made the right decision for myself and my family, because I'm about to have another boy any day now, you know, another child. So my family's growing, me as an entrepreneur, I'm growing and learning. So, you know, I really couldn't be in a better place.
Well, congratulations on the soon-to-be birth of your next son. That's awesome to hear. And a lot of the things, that you just touched on, which brings me to my next question is, so being suspended for cannabis while you were in the NBA, what is your opinion now regarding the leniency that the NBA has shown with cannabis?
I think it's great. I think it's awesome, man. I think it's great for guys, because they need it. It's going to help them. It's going to benefit them. And now I'm working with a company called Click, and what was so advertising about this company is because it's a marijuana brand, but it's a spray, and it's a healthier way to partake. And I mean, it fit right into my lifestyle as an athlete, and it's someone trying to like really control my health. And this is a product that I think would be great for the guys once they, actually really allow it and open those doors. 4 different components. You have the Restore, it has CBD in it. You have the one with melatonin, Dream for nighttime, for sleep, which is great because when you're flying in late at night, that's when I would use it. I would tap the blunt a little bit and go to sleep. I was microdosing, and it was really helping me. But I was getting fined by the league. So once they open it up, we have a perfect way for guys to microdose without smoke, and without eating an edible, because that doesn't resonate with people all the time. Like I can't eat edibles personally. So I think it's great, man. I think they're moving in a progressive direction. All sports need it. I'm happy for football, them getting it. I think it's going to be great for them. Whole cognitive dissonance, the frontal lobe, and all that, man. It's going to be great for their brain. So.
For sure. So you just touched on Click as a company and, some things of that nature. So how did you get started with the company?
Well, I got introduced to the company through Omar Caspi, which is a friend of mine from just playing in the league, man, and the guy who always watched his career, watched his game, and liked how liked his game and followed him. So it was dope. Came out here to LA, met with him. We just started working together. He believed in me as a creative, and I invested, but he saw me as an entrepreneur. He saw that what I could do on the other side of things, and gave me an opportunity to really work with them. You know what I mean? And that's been great. We've been able to just do so much in a year. 420 is our birthday. We launched last year on 420 during the pandemic. And we're in like 40 stores, plus, a bunch of delivery services. And people love the product. So, I felt like it was just like discreet. You can take it anywhere. Bro, I can take it anywhere. It's like literally anywhere. And, it's fast acting. So if I, as soon as I hit it a couple times, give me 10 minutes and I'm feeling it, you know what I'm saying? So that's great. It just really fit in my life. It fit into my lifestyle really well as a user. And it kind of lowered my smoking a little bit, which is good, you know what I'm saying? So that's my personal journey. And that I was attached to it. So I'm like, I think my peers will love it. I think people who aren't my peers will love it because it kind of resonates with anybody, that the housewife, the soccer mom, or the chef, or the barber, all walks of life. So, I just think the world is going in a great direction as far as cannabis use, and this is going to fit right in.
I couldn't agree more. So are they disposable, or how does that work?
Yeah, they're recyclable. Yep. And if you return the bottle, we're setting up a reward program that you can actually, get rewards and whatnot for returning your bottle. And they're dope, man. The bottles are cool too. Once you run out of spray, you can kind of, you put anything in it. Really, you can kind of put water in it. If you want to spray some water or some kind of mint, or they're dope, man. They're so cool with like just always being heavy on design. So. It's gonna be more. Just expect more innovative bottles, to come, which is great.
That's very cool to hear. If you return the bottle, it's an engaging way for people to, continue interacting with the brand, which is very cool. Yeah. So, going off that, what's your role with the company specifically, and what does a normal day look like for Click Cannabis Spray and some of your responsibilities?
Oh yeah, okay. Well, normal day I would wake up, get the team together, probably like 8 a.m. We'll go over, the next three days of work. We shoot content every other day. So, for example, we just shot some content with a barber where, we shot him in his element. He owns his store. He uses Click, and we shot him and kind of spoke about Click in a documentary style, about how it fits in his life. Tattoo artist. We shoot developing funny content now, some stuff that we expect to kind of hit the viral pages and whatnot. Just be creative, definitely try to highlight all of Click's rewards and engagements and all the stores that we're involved with on a weekly basis, and really teach people how to use the product. I think that's the most important thing. What separates us from anything else is, we're discreet. You really can take it anywhere and you can use it anywhere, and it's fast acting. So, just really teach people about the product. That's where we're at right now, and showing why this product can fit into their life as cannabis users, from the beginning stages to the heavy users.
For sure. So with all the knowledge that you've gained, since you've been in the industry and stuff like that, what would your message be to specifically athletes and, I guess people in general as well who are skeptical of cannabis and, they're not so educated and about the benefits that come with it?
Yeah, I would say, just kind of do some research, kind of see what resonates with you. If anything does, I think more than not, someone knows someone that partakes, so kind of maybe have a real conversation. Why do they like it? Why is it appetizing to them? And people deal with different things on different levels. And I believe I really truly need some medicine. Not everyone needs every medicine. Like, that's okay if everyone doesn't smoke. Like, some people don't need to, you don't need to just recreationally do a medicine because everyone's doing it. That's where we get into like the mucky area. Like, I believe if, and I've seen a doctor for it. I believe that there's a process, and I think that, you should respect the process, really do research on what resonates with you. Don't just partake to partake. Just don't get high to get high. I see a bunch of people, and I got friends. They like, yo, man, I gotta stop smoking, man. I can't function, and I get sleepy. And I'm like, what you smoking? I'm King Louis, and I'm Indica. I'm like, okay, that's why.
There you go, yeah.
You start your hill on the uphill. You start your day on the uphill battle already, because you're waking and baking to the heaviest indica you can find. Thinking that that's cool because they're rapping about it in the songs, and it's like, no, man, like that's not what fits you, So I used to smoke sativas heavy. It made me a little more fidgety and agitated than I liked. I moved to the hybrids, and that's where I find my calm is the hybrids. You know what I'm saying? I don't do indicas. They're way too heavy. So just kind of understanding what's right for you, I think that's important.
Absolutely. I feel like finding out what's right for you helps to tell the story and definitely get people engaged into, the world of cannabis. So kind of going off that, working with Click and just being immersed in the cannabis industry itself, in 2017, you attempted an NBA comeback that earlier on you touched on a little bit with the Cavaliers. So what was your thought process in coming back and kind of leaving the entrepreneurship side of things, in the rear view for a second?
Well, honestly, I was ready to merge. I was ready to bring them together. And I thought that it was the perfect time to like do both and, really, but I wasn't ready yet. I was too driven into the entrepreneurship. It was just more passion there at the time than for the basketball, especially kind of in Cleveland. It was dark. The team, it was Kyrie and LeBron. They didn't know. It was a lot of dysfunction. No one knew what anyone was going to do. Kevin Love was working his way back into the rotation off an injury. Didn't know if they were going to even make a championship run that year. It was tough. There was a lot of stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? When I only seen like a month of it. So I could imagine what they were dealing with. And, yeah, I kind of just felt like I was lost in the mix. And for a person who I kind of dealt with what I dealt with and the situation, how it went down, maybe I should have went to a place with a little more attention and a little less, what was going on. But, I think that I may have been a lot at the time as far as not giving them a lot, but demanding a lot of myself. And I felt like entrepreneurship was definitely more of the route. So when that kind of fell through and gave me that kind of sour taste again, I couldn't smoke because, of course, and immediately when I came back, I was in the drug program. Because I left in the drug program and I retired, when I came back, I had to serve like 2 years in the drug program. And, that's including the summers, So it's not just an easy commitment to say, I don't want to go back. It's like, so a lot comes with it. And being under that microscope, as long as cannabis is banned, it sucks. It sucks to have to live your life feeling like you're doing something wrong. Somebody knocking on your door, testing you, the rest of being going to rehab, where you tell people that you're there for weed and they're laughing, like people are dying from, overdose of heroin and alcohol poisoning on their last leg, So it's just a lot, man. It's just a lot to deal with. So either things are lightening up, and they're gonna, kind of take the stress off the issue, which is gonna be great for guys. And, hopefully they free everybody in the program once they do that, and it'll be better.
Yeah, that's the goal. So you just touched on it. In 2017, guys like Kevin Love, who are very outspoken about things like mental health and, the battles that they face in their everyday lives and things of that nature. So how do you keep that conversation of overall importance of mental health going? And, how has cannabis helped you with that personally?
Yeah, I would say what made me, because he also spoke on the Players Tribune, right? Kevin Love did. Yeah, and that's the platform that I spoke on 2000, and was it 15? 16, something like that, 15. Yeah, and I just feel like guys needed that. Like, I wasn't gonna tell my story. Like, I wasn't. I retired. I left. I was in Seattle. I was enjoying. I got some good weed. I wasn't going to. I was approached by the Players Tribune, and they're like, this is something ran by the players. You're gonna be able to tell your story through your mouth. You're going to be able to be in the editing process. You're going to be a part of this. That's the only way I would want to do it, because I feel like no one was going to be able to tell it. No one's going to be able to convey it. And it's going to get misconstrued. And I'd rather not say anything. So at that point, I was getting all this hate, just like, thief, you retired, you coward, every feed I got was just a negative post toward me. Someone saying something negative. And not that it really bothered me, but I thought about my kids, and I thought about my family, and I thought, I have a responsibility to protect them, and I have to at least and be vulnerable and tell my story so that they're not picked on, when they go to school, or they're not questioned, or, you know what I'm saying? So I was there. They met me there in Seattle. They flew out the same day, like next day. We shot it, and that they probably, I think that it's like 2 minutes long, that whole spiel. But I sat there and talked to them about an hour. It was an hour worth of footage of things that I said and released, and like it got deep. It got really deep. But they chose to use what they chose, and it was great, and people responded well. And I was kind of disappointed I wasn't a part of the creative process when it came to that, like they promised. You know what I'm saying? I think I probably would have I would have let a lot more fly than what they released. And I think it would have been a little more helpful, honestly, but it is what it is. And I think the people got the point, and it opened the doors. It made people like Kevin and DeMar just feel better about just expressing themselves. People are suffering, at all different levels. And we see that, Katy Perry, and people suffer. It doesn't matter about how much money you have. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter, what you really gain or your accomplishments in life. That's not what stops you from jumping. You know what I'm saying? You just, depression is a creepy monster, you know what I'm saying, that can come in at any level of life. So with that said, I think it's great that guys feel comfortable speaking out. I think they saw that everyone responded well to me. It wasn't kind of like, oh, he's dealing with mental illness, he's crazy, oh, we can't trust this guy, or what. It was like, okay, I kind of relate to that. Okay, I know what that feels like. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. And I think guys saw that like, okay, wow, the public is going to take it well. They can't. So, the owners aren't going to it's not going to be held against me if I say I'm dealing with something next contract, because everyone's watching, everyone's accepting it. They got my back, so I think that the public plays a huge part in, public figures being able to express themselves and be vulnerable.
For sure. Absolutely. I think that's huge, especially keeping that conversation open, like you said, with everyone, the rigorous schedules of the NBA and, professional sports and different professions in general. So definitely big hurdle, like you said, to get over. So going off that, where would you say you see Click Cannabis Spray down the line in, let's say, 5 years or so?
Well, I definitely see we're the number one sublingual right now in California. So we're moving in a great direction. And I think if we keep with being innovative and trusting each other and being creative, which I feel like I know we are, we can easily just continue to dominate the market that we're in. And give people an addition to better their life. Give them some more quality in their life and easier way to consume. Like I was talking to the barber, and he loves it because he says, as an owner, I wouldn't mind my barbers using this. Maybe not on the job, but they have to, use it. I'd rather them come in and use that than smelling like smoke. It's more professional, and then if the people in the chairs, they liked it, they wanted to use it, they were adults, and they partake, I wouldn't mind them using it. So there's so many different situations where it can be fun, but it can also be professional, because people love the street, and smoke a finch, whether it's coming from a vape or a cigarette or someone's gonna get offended. So I think this is the best way, the most discreet way at least, and the most shareable way, and the most fast acting way. So I think people are going to gravitate to the product. And once the market really opens up nationwide, it'll definitely be something that people on all levels can relate to, all over for sure, and use and need.
Absolutely. So, you've been with the company for some time now, and what would you say is your go-to in a sense of, which spray you use and how often you use it and things like that?
Yeah. Well, I love the Go. The Go is, that has the biggest boost in it. So it has the most, the highest level. That's the one I'm on the most. But the Dream is it's a close second because it has the melatonin, and me, my wife, my friends, we love the Dream because it's always good when you can't get sleep, or when you're up too late and you gotta go to bed, got something important in the morning, you just hit the Dream a couple times, lay down, and you're out and you have a good night's sleep. So that's the one that everyone's always asking for. People always want to refill. You'll give me the Dream, So, but I love the Go too. The Chill and the Restore. The Restore has more CBD in it. So when I smoke my weed, I like to do the Restore because I get that good CBD burst with my marijuana, and it tastes good too. It's like a green grass, like ginger, lemon. It's good.
Wow, that sounds really good.
Yeah, bro. We got to get you some.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You were an amazing guest. It was awesome hearing about your experience in the NBA, your experience in the industry, and how, you've paved the way for so many people, and how, things are only going to continue to get better and move in the right direction. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Man, I appreciate you, man.